Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of our rare opportunity that we catch up one of more influential, very dynamic, and senior politicians in New Hampshire state of United States of America. Mr. David Water represents Senate District 4, who is previously professor of history, English, and many more. He has a lot of resume, big resume, and is one of the senior politicians in this, not only the state, but if we talk about the United States of America, he is the one who has done a lot for his district, for the strengthening of the democracy, for the empowerment of the community, and bringing together to achieve the great American dream. I would like to welcome this David Water, Senate District 4 Senator of the New Hampshire. It's our great pleasure. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kiran. It's so nice to be speaking with you today.
Yes, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for your opinion as well. And this is one of the very beautiful opportunity for Nepalese and other community who are living in your district, in your states, to know your view and vision regarding them.
Well, this is a great opportunity for me as well. The Nepalese community in my area of the state has been very, very important.
Exactly, and it's raising rapidly as well,
Yes,
growing rapidly.
It's very successful. It's growing, creating community organizations.
Right.
We have the Everest Lions Club,
Yes.
the New Hampshire Sisters. The Literary Society has had some wonderful events that the governor and I have attended. So it's a very vibrant and successful community.
Thank you very much for your great recognition. And if we talk about your political career, you were already a successful professor, researcher, and a very renowned social worker as well. Why you been interested in politics? Why you joined the politics?
Well, I was inspired particularly by President Barack Obama, whom I met in the year 2007, and he said, if you like these ideas, you have to run for office. So I decided to run for the House of Representatives and was elected. And I care very deeply about education, and I particularly care about the economic development of an inclusive society, that people from all over the world feel welcome here and can succeed in New Hampshire and become part of the community. And that was very important to me, and I thought that being an elected official would mean that I could do that, not just for my district, but for the state, and really be a model for the country.
So it was in 2007, and when Barack Obama was here in his election campaign?
Yes. I met him on a basketball court. He was shooting some baskets, and we talked. I liked him very much and ended up supporting him in the presidential primary.
Do you think he's a nice basketball player as well?
Yes.
And what was your initial achievement? You won the election of House of Representative, or you?
Yes. I served for 2 terms in the House, two-year terms, and then I decided to run for the Senate in 2012, and I was elected to represent communities that have a lot of Nepalese population, Somersworth and Dover area, near our seacoast.
What is the real structure, demography, and the characteristics of your District 4?
Well, we are very near the University of New Hampshire, so there's a lot of educational interest. We also are a center for medical hospitals and research, and there's a lot of advanced manufacturing as well. Velcro and Conitech and Albany Safran that makes jet engine fans. So it's a very mixed economy there, and commercial as well. So it's a vibrant area. It is really booming.
Really nice. And do you think that you contributed to the prosperity, to bring the people together and to achieve their great American dream? What were your key contribution to the society if you numberize it 1, 2, 3? What are the things that you would like to mention over here in the interview?
Well, I think supporting families through educational opportunity to make sure that every child can get a good education and thrive in the schools and go on to university and get a good job. Also, health care has been very important to make sure that people can get their health care. And then I also think transportation. I've worked a lot on transportation issues, making sure we have good roadways and good system. And I think that if you put those together, and also if you're also welcoming to new communities like the Nepalese, and we have a lot of Indonesians in my community as well, that if you're welcoming to them, they will come and make a good contribution to the prosperity as well.
The most important thing in politics is getting elected by the people, and which is the most beautiful thing in the United States of America. And this country believe in the system. Fortunately, you are here who re-elected time and again. 5 times you re-elected, and you are still fighting for another terms as well. And what is the conclusion that you got re-elected time and again, and what is the secret of your politics that people fall in love with you?
Well, I think you have to listen.
Yeah.
You have to hear what's on people's minds and really know what the problems they may be facing in their lives is. And then what can we do together as a community? I think it's very important to make people feel that democracy can work and that there is something in it for them, so that the government can help them, and then also sometimes the government can get out of the way and let them build their businesses and lead their lives in freedom. I also think the real key in New Hampshire is you have to knock on doors.
Knock on doors.
You go and you knock on doors and says, what's on your mind? Talk to people, and some of them will criticize you and some will disagree with you, but they appreciate that you cared, you took the time to listen to them.
Right. But you were previously a professor. That means you had some knowledge how to deal with people as well, because of teaching is one of such prestigious profession where you spend a lot of time in your life.
Well,
what is the differences of being a professor and being a politician?
Well, if you're a politician, you have to get things done.
Tom.
You really do. You have to compromise, you have to work together across party lines, and you have to be very practical.
Yes.
And I think that that's an important lesson, that it's not just abstract ideas in the classroom and books.
Just make a definition, briefing.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that was important for me in my background in history and literature is that I was very interested in the history of New Hampshire and of America. And I think if you understand the challenges we've gone through in the past, it lends a perspective to what we're going through now. This is not the first time we've had the kind of crisis over immigration or the economy.
Yes.
We've had these many times before, and if you have a good, strong democracy, you can get through these kinds of problems.
Right. So Democrat Party is expecting to have a good majority in the House in coming election.
Well, we'll see what the people want, but I think that right now, I think that the chances are that we will do very well in the November election. And I do want to mention, too, something about the way the politics work here, is that New Hampshire wants to be very welcoming to anybody. I had not been a career politician. I was a teacher, and I wanted to run, and I was welcomed. And I met Umesh Koirala at a campaign event for, I think it was for John Kerry or for Barack Obama, and we just happened to sit next to each other.
Great.
And I met him, and his vision was that if we're going to be really part of this community, we have to involve ourselves with the political life of the community. And I think that was a great vision, and it's been true. The leaders throughout the state, Ishwari Bada in Concord, and Jessica and Sam Garun in Manchester, and on the seacoast area, not just Umesh, but also Raj Kai. These people have been very important to connect with us.
Exactly.
And
do you think that Nepalese community has such kind of potentiality to raise up that level in mainstream politics?
I really do, and I hope that some members of the community will run for office and be elected. We had the Nepalese Literary Society had its international meeting a few weeks ago here in Concord. Nepalese from all over the country and from overseas as well. And the governor was there.
Yes.
I was there. Senator Dan Feltus from Concord was there. And that was very unusual that we would all three be somewhere, but it's because we recognize this community really has become an important part of New Hampshire.
Yes. What are your key efforts to enhance them?
I think that it's inclusion. I want to be sure that the Nepalese community, their children have an opportunity to get good education. There have been several who have gone to the University of New Hampshire and graduated and are very successful lives, and in the local schools as well. I mean, there is this, New Hampshire is a predominantly white state. It's about 94% white, and I think that there is always, the possibility that a child will feel like they're the only one or not feel included. And I think that that's really so important, that the community members feel welcome, and the children can say, this is my country, this is my home, and I want to contribute to it, get a job here, build a family here.
Right, you already mentioned that the New Hampshire is one of the welcoming states in the United States. That's why this is very easier for all the community to grow here. So if we talk regarding Nepalese community especially, have you seen their future in American mainstream politics, or as a friend of Nepalese community as well, do you think that you can empower them to come to the politics?
I think that, if people want to, I think there's a great opportunity to run for office. I think that in the locations such as Somersworth and Dover, where I am, they are very welcome. The mayors of those communities, the city councils of those communities, the schools of the community, very welcoming. And so if someone would like to run for office, I think they'd be very welcome in that endeavor. I hope that someone will join me in the legislature in Concord from the community. There are several leaders who I think would be elected if they chose to do that. It's a big commitment, if you're going to run for office, it's a lot of work. But I think this would be a good place, and I think also it would be an important message really to the Nepalese community around the country that this is possible, that the leaders in this community have done such great work, and also have a vision of kind of diversity, to bring together Bhutanese and the Nepalese communities here with other ethnic communities as well, and say we are stronger together.
Truly, and if we talk about the initial days, how you did connect it with the Nepalese community?
Yes, well, it was mostly through Umesh at first. We met and just became friends very, very quickly. And I really wanted to make sure that he felt included and involved in the presidential campaigns we were doing. And then in my campaign, he always came to events. And then he invited me to meet his family, and we had meals, and his lovely children. And then events. I have been invited to the Literary Society events and to other social events as well. And to me, I just learned so much, and I enjoy so much learning about the culture, and it's been a lot to me personally. To maybe feel very welcome, and I feel so welcome and embraced by the community, and I'm really grateful for that.
That is really great for the community as well, because having a true friend, true politicians like you, who always inspire the Nepalese community, means a lot for them as well. And if I mention one thing, that before we discuss our conversation, Umesh Koirala mentioned me that he is planning to establish a multicultural community center, and moreover, he's initiating to grow the Nepalese community in the mainstream politics. As a senior politician, what would be your support regarding these two plans of the Nepalese community, like community center and community mainstream politics?
Well, I think that Umesh's plan is very wise for a couple of reasons. One is that if you have a center, a physical space, as well as organizations, then it makes the community stronger. There is a sense of isolation, of course. You're not only away from the home country, but also maybe spread out across the state, so that if there are places where the community come together, the community is stronger, the networks grow stronger. But it also is a way of establishing a kind of identity in the state, that people say, oh, there's the Nepalese Community Center, or oh, if they come to an event, they say, oh, look at the size of this community, and look what they're doing. And I think that kind of presence, I think especially now when we have such terrible debate over immigration and over refugees, it's important for communities not to hunker down and to feel defensive, but that they are still welcome. And I'll mention a couple of examples of how New Hampshire has responded.
Please.
After the earthquake, Dr. Charles Blitzer in Somersworth, New Hampshire, in one of my communities, immediately went with the International Medical Corps team to Nepal to work in the hospitals. And he stayed there for a long time and did surgery and helped the hospitals recover from that. And that's because he
Very
knew the
true.
community here.
Yes.
And another example, the New Hampshire Humanities Council, which is a large statewide organization with federal and state funding, decided to publish a children's book in Nepalese and in English. And it's called The Story of a Pumpkin, from a traditional folk tale.
Right.
And it was beautifully illustrated, and that became an immensely popular book.
Yeah.
Not only in the Nepalese community, but for American children as well.
yeah.
So I think it really has become
This is really a great
street.
exchange of culture and
Yes.
language.
Yes.
It will create a positive vibes between two community to connect each other. David, if I talk about your political career again, why you wanted to fight again? Why you want to stand again for the fourth term?
Well, I really believe in our democracy.
Yes.
And New Hampshire does democracy very well. It's been a fiercely independent state, very independent people for 400 years now. It has the first presidential primary. And I think that people feel here that they really can serve their communities and they can change things for the better. And I will say that my last two campaigns, I have been attacked by my opponent for supporting immigration and for supporting refugees. And I say, fine, let's have that argument. I have a vision of America and of this state that is inclusive. My ancestors came here over 300 years ago. They were religious refugees.
Right.
And Nepalese and many other communities are refugees as well.
Yeah.
And we all can build a future together. So I care a lot about that.
Yes.
And I care a lot about education. We have to improve our schools. I care a lot about families. I care a lot about jobs, economic development. And that's what gives us the good life. I have had a good life here. And
Exactly.
I am at an age now where I can really try to contribute so that other people who are newer and younger in new communities feel that they can take part of this dream as well.
True. I personally, on behalf of Nepalese community, wish you all the best for the election. I hope that you will definitely win it. But would you mind to tell why should people vote you again?
Well, I think I have served well. I think I have done what I said I do. We got funding for kindergarten, which I fought for. We're getting new roads in my district in Dover. And I've also stood up for the values that I think are important. So I can't ask you to vote for me, Kiran.
Definitely,
I hope you're convinced, all right?
This is really great pleasure having a politicians like you, true politicians, and who is really connected with the society. That's why we use that you will be in the position time and again.
Well, let me tell you something, too, about New Hampshire.
Yeah.
We only get paid $100 a year to serve in the legislature. $100 a year is our total payment. So you have to love it, you have to be a volunteer.
Great.
You cannot be a career politician who
That
gets a
is
big
really
salary. So it keeps you very connected to the community.
To the community. Moreover, if we talk about immigration, you already mentioned that this state is welcoming and it has really a flexible policy for the immigrants as well. But if we talk regarding the federal policies, there are still changing something, and which immigrants community feels not familiar to them and not comfortable to them as well. What is your opinion regarding this kind of changes in the immigration policy in federal level?
I think it's terrible. I think it really is a step very much backwards to an older, earlier vision of America that I think is just wrong. And I'm really proud that our United States senators, Senator Shaheen and Senator Hassan, have particularly stood up on this issue and pushed back on the Trump administration. We have had threatened deportations of Indonesians in the community, and both senators have worked tirelessly to stop those. And it's gone to court, and the New Hampshire American Civil Liberties Union has sued against these policies, and we have kept those families from being deported. In this country, at the state and local level, people have a chance to fight back. And I will say police departments here, courts here, mayors here want to support this community, and they want to resist the policies from Washington right now.
What is the particular policy of New Hampshire state? regarding immigrants?
Um,
Is this a sanctuary state?
We don't have that official designation, and in some ways, I think it's unnecessary to put a label on
Yeah.
the efforts here to attempt to support people. I mean, we do have the federal government has enormous amount of power. The immigration services, the ICE people here are, they are here, they are stopping some people on the highways in northern New Hampshire who may be just out with their families. And so there are some things that we cannot stop if the federal government wants to do them, but I think the alternative is that we can reassert how supportive we want to be at the local level.
Right. And David, we talk again towards the Nepalese community and the other community living in your district and over New Hampshire. Their challenges is basically the first generation, they are facing some problem regarding language, some problem regarding their really less paid job, and some of them are facing some housing problems and rental problems. How you are trying to figure out these problems, and what are your policies to solve them and to support them?
Well, in some ways, they are problems that are shared by everybody in the state because real estate is becoming expensive, rent is becoming expensive as well. And we do have help available. I think the most important thing we can do is to make sure that people in the Nepalese community understand what help is available. I think in terms of the language, I'm on the board of the Dover Adult Learning Center, and its mission is to provide English as a second language instruction, and a lot of the Nepalese community have taken classes there. There also are ways to build up job skills as well, and there are a lot of public programs for that run by the Department of Education, Department of Labor, adult learning centers, so that people can come in and say, I realize I need these skills to get a better job so I can make some more money. And then the other side of it is that let's make sure the second generation is succeeding. As I said, some of the children have already graduated from the University of New Hampshire and are going to schools in other states. And if we can make sure that the next generation feels welcome, gets a good education, then the whole family can move forward.
Do you think United States is losing its supremacy and brotherhood in the international arena? Seeing all those activities that happens recent years?
I think that the American economy is so vital and strong internationally that and we have such a large military that of course there will always have a lot of influence. However, I think what we are losing is some of the moral authority, and that can be very damaging. Countries who have depended upon our leadership as the NATO nations, and I think in many countries in Southeast Asia and elsewhere,
Asia Pacific as well.
Have understood that that America would stand with them. And now, if they fear that that force is gone, then who's going to fill that vacuum? And I think there's a fear that more aggressive or more totalitarian regimes will be freer. So we're in a tough time.
Yes.
We are in a
truly tough time. And as a professor of history, it's really nice to talk to you as well regarding these all history phenomenon, because as I said that after Second World War, America is almost a single polar world. Even though there was Soviet Union and after the collapse of the Berlin Wall, there is just nothing in the world. There is just United States, democracy, and its values, which United States want to grow all over the world. And it's happening as well. But what my concern and questions to you is, if America goes through this way, it's adopting since a couple of years after the Trump era, do you think that this country can wear this legacy for long term in the international arena?
I hope we will be able to recover this. I don't believe there is a Trump era. We are 16 months into
Maybe
his
this is not a good
presidency.
terminology in the politics
but I
as
understand
well.
that.
But you understand
I think it's important that
Yeah.
we Americans don't define ourselves in terms of what Trump is saying. I will recall, even during that period after World War II, when I was a child in elementary school, I did duck and cover for drills to prepare for a nuclear attack from Russia.
Right.
We were torn apart by the Vietnam War. So there have been many, many difficulties, and our erroneous war in Iraq, and all of these things, and the war on terror have been really, really extraordinary difficulties. And I think that what we have to see is that there are ways to get through this.
Right.
And I do hope, I wouldn't be involved in the politics I'm involved in unless I believe that it would be possible for our democracy to restore that vision of America as a country that can lead in the world. And it has to do that by embracing diversity here.
Yes.
We have to confront our racism, we have to accept immigration, we have to accept refugees and say, that the American dream has to include everybody.
Yeah. David, if you don't mind, as a senior intellectual politician, what is your comments regarding the Trump's initiation to cool down this Asia East subcontinent, like South Korean deal, and do you think that it comes out with positive outcomes?
I hope so. I think it is good that there is conversation now rather than threats.
Yes.
I am concerned that there really has not been sufficient follow through. I think that it was kind of precipitous to meet with Kim right away without having more negotiation over what could come from those meetings.
Right.
I think it's important that we have to have China and its influence on Korea, and I'm just not sure, based on Pompeo's recent visit there, which ended up in real discord, that this can move forward. But I'm very hopeful that there might be a way to break through. I think, though, that our difficulty is we really have to support our allies in the region. We have to continue the support of Japan and our relationship with Vietnam, of course, with India, with the Himalayan countries as well, because we know that China has its vision of hegemony over that region, and China's a great country. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Chinese. It's a wonderful country, wonderful economy, but it is a vision of relationship with other countries that I think may not be beneficial to them in the long run. No. So I think it's a question of balance. Is the United States going to be able to provide balance in Europe, provide balance in Asia, and it's almost as if now we don't really have a coherent foreign policy, that it's not really clear what the strategy is and how we get from here to there. It seems to be much too much a kind of a cult of personality around Donald Trump, and that I don't think is going to work.
Right. We are at the end of the interview. If I talk regarding my country back home, we just adopted the federal democratic system like United States has adopted since many years, hundreds of years. Do you have any recommendations, any prescriptions to the country like Nepal, who can progress through the federalism and who can strengthen their federal democratic republic? The country which practiced the monarchy since a couple of years, and immediately it's changed to the federal republic. So how it can be alive for a long time? Well,
I wish Nepal well. I think it's an extraordinary experiment in freedom and democracy that it's undertaken. I think a federal system is very important in that it does allow for a balancing of powers. I think it's going to be a challenge to make sure that all groups feel included, so that even if your party didn't win the election, you still feel that you have a part to play in the government. And the government, also any government has to find a way to deliver services and to support the people. And I think in some ways that Americans can learn from Nepal as well. And I'm about to go up to Concord for a celebration of hoisting the eagle on the 1816 State House that was being constructed. And I think, well, think about America in 1816. Its federal experiment in democracy was very young. We had had another war with Great Britain. We'd had an economic depression because of trade embargoes. And yet people had that optimism to build a new capital, to raise the gold eagle up on top and say there is a future to us. And I think that's just, if people can feel that they can be optimistic and hope that their government can work for them, then it will succeed.
Have you got chances, opportunities to visit Nepal as well?
I have not yet. My mother traveled, and I've had friends who have been there, and I would love to someday be able to visit.
Oh, yes. We wish you a travel as soon as possible. If you can make it, it would be really great for us. And would you mind to make any messages to your audience through this interview?
Well, I am very grateful to have this opportunity to talk with you, Kiran. I have learned a lot, and I hope that people will contact me if they would like to ask questions or to give me a phone call. I would welcome to hear from them.
Is it possible to deliver your call number, phone number here?
Yes, my cell phone is 603-969-9224.
That is really great, and I hope that your dedication, supports towards Nepali and other community will continue, and Nepalese community will be more benefited from you. And I wish you all the best for your future endeavor as well. I wish you will be elected for 4th term, and maybe one day I will see you at the Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C.
Well, I wish peace and prosperity to Nepal and Nepalese people, whether in Nepal or here in America.
Thank you very much, David.
Yeah.
It's really great talking to you.
Good to talk.
Thank you for your time and opinion.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.